What's up everyone, it's D2 with Big Peach Ride and Run, and the title of this video is basically why you should be wary of YouTube shoe reviewers and what you should be paying attention to and probably what you shouldn't be paying attention to, because it has come across my feeds as I've watched several YouTube videos. There's some things that are maybe don't appeal to a lot of, I would say, your average runner. I've seen some YouTubers out there that are trying to make it as that influencer and are reviewing shoes that aren't even out yet, that are reading spec sheets and they're telling you what they think the shoe will be like, and the shoe isn't even out yet. And it's like 6 months down the road. No one has a shoe except if you work for that brand or that company, but somehow they got a spec sheet or a preview that they saw, at a trade show or online, and they're telling you why that shoe is good or bad and why you should try that. And I don't think that really is a great way to do a review. I think a review, you should be trying on the shoes, not only as the reviewer, but I think as individuals, we need to try on the shoe. And at least from my perspective, when I give a review, I'm giving it from my own perspective as an opinion of my own that hopefully may translate over to you the viewer, and maybe you can make an informed decision. I'm always going to recommend that you go to a store and you try on the shoes. Go to your local running store, whether it's Big Peach Ride and Run running company or some other in your area. Try the shoe on. I think right now the industry and YouTubers are way too focused on the super shoes. They're exciting. Yes, they are. It's the latest technology, but we're talking over $200 for a pair of shoes, as much as $300 or more in some instances, and that is not your average runner. The average runner wants a comfortable shoe that they can go out and run in, that makes running enjoyable, that makes them take their mind off of everything else that's going on in their life. And that's the type of shoe that really most people are focused on. And there's a small percentage that are really concerned about that super shoe, that are trying to set PRs, that are trying to win an age group and Boston qualification. That's not the majority of the audience. So I think YouTube reviewers are focused too much on that carbon plate. Does it have a carbon plate? What's the shape of the carbon plate? Is it winged? Does it provide stability? Is it a nylon plate? The midsole material. Is it a super foam? Is it a supercritical foam? EVA and the weight, and that's way too much information that I don't even think most reviewers truly understand, unless they themselves, understand the science behind it and why the technology and the science behind it is really makes that shoe special or unique from any other shoes. And the other thing that I think a lot of reviewers focus on is the weight of the shoe. Unless you're trying, like I said, to compete at an elite level, setting a PR, Boston qualification or something like that, weight really is a non-issue unless it's a very heavy shoe. For the most part, when a shoe gains a few ounces, or not a few ounces, but a fraction of an ounce, it's barely noticeable unless you're that really kind of fine-tuned runner that can feel that weight. But sometimes a weight can increase in the shoe, but it doesn't really necessarily feel heavier. So I think those are things that we tend to kind of focus too much on, and like I said, weight shouldn't be one of those things that we should really be focused on. What we should be focused on, and what I'll try to do, and I think I've done in the past and will be more conscious of when I do reviews, is talk about things that are going to be important to you as an average runner and looking for that daily training shoe. So the feel of the shoe. So this here is your basic, kind of daily trainer type shoe. Nothing fancy, nothing super, super shoe-like qualities, right? There is new technology, new materials, lighter weight, and newer foams that are going to make the shoe lighter, softer, more responsive, and to provide all those great things. But before I get started on that, let me just say also that most shoes in that $120 range and up are going to be good shoes. What makes a bad shoe is if that shoe does not fit your feet. Everyone's feet are different, and we all like different things, and we may like You know, just the same way like I might like, you know, chocolate ice cream, you might like strawberries, and it's a personal preference. Doesn't mean one's right or one's wrong. You know, it just means that we have different tastes. We have different ideas of what we like, and the same thing applies to shoes. But things that we should keep important is number one is the feel of that shoe. So what do we like? Do we want something that's responsive, that feels kind of quick? What is that ground feel underneath? Do we want it to completely disappear, or do we want to feel a little bit of that just to get us a little bit more connected to the road? Like I said, it's just what do you like? And sometimes you may like a little of both. You may like, for those quicker days, you may want that responsive type of shoe, or for that racing type shoe, you know, if you're doing your local 5K, you may want something that has that kind of quick responsive feel. But if those longer runs or it's a recovery run, you may want that super plush, more comfortable, you know, let me just forget and not worry about, you know, the road underneath me, and let me just put in some long miles. So those are those preferences, and sometimes that's why you may want multiple shoes. So it's the responsiveness, it's a cushion, you know, it's also maybe even the heel drop, you know, whether you want something that has a higher, you know, heel drop from the heel to the toes, to whether you want something that's a little bit lower. That also comes down to a little bit of your biomechanics and your history, as far as, you know, do you have tight, you know, calves? Do you have Achilles issues? Do you have plantar fasciitis? All things are going to play into how that shoe feels on your feet. The most important thing is the fit of the shoe. Everyone's feet are different. So reviewers should be focused on and at least provide you with their interpretation of what they think based on their shape and size of their foot. How does that foot feel? Is the toe box feel, you know, snug and too tight? Does it feel wide? Does it feel generous? Is it sloppy? You know, for me, I would say maybe an average, you know, shaped foot, right? It's not too big, it's not narrow, but at the same time, I do like having a little bit extra room right here in the toe box to let my toes splay, because on longer runs, that can get kind of uncomfortable and it can cause some blistering and some chafing there. So you want to have a little bit extra room, and those are things I think reviewers should be telling you about based on their own perception and their own experience in that shoe. Even if it has a wide toe box, you want to make sure that right through the middle of the shoe, the saddle of the shoe, feels nice and secure. How does that arch feel? Does it have a high arch? Does it feel sloppy? Does it feel like it moves around? The tongue, is it padded? You know, do they feel any discomfort in the lacing? Is it too tight? Does it cause a hot spot? The heel, does it feel like it's slipping? You know, does it feel like it's tight? Like I said, for me, I feel like I have a average shaped foot. So if I feel like the heel is slipping, for me, chances are it's going to feel that same for most people. But then the question is, can you make adjustments to the lacing to help secure that foot and that heel? Then the last thing to consider is the ride. So how does that feel? You know, does a transition from heel to toe feel pretty good? And that's going to also vary a little bit on your biomechanics. Are you more prone to landing on the heel and rolling off to your toes? Are you more that midfoot striker? Are you more of that just landing on your toes? Because that's all going to make a difference. The transition, how does that feel? Does it feel like it's a smooth transition? Does it feel like it rolls, you know, off the toes? Does the toe off feel like it's a little bit too, aggressive to where it, you know, does it feel different? You know, the rocker shaped geometry as well. There's a lot of shoes that have that rocker shaped geometry that also may appeal to a certain class of runners, and then others that are more kind of flat and more traditional that may appeal to others. Once again, neither is wrong. It's just what is our preference. So, you know, what is that stride? What does your stride look like? What is your, you know, gait? All those things are going to, you know, affect how you perceive that shoe. Does that mean that because you didn't like that shoe, it's not good for someone else? No. Does it mean because you love this shoe that it's going to be great for someone else? Absolutely not. It doesn't mean any of those things, because we are all unique and we all have different things. So I think as reviewers, we need to be careful and have a responsibility to share our own personal experience, and not to say, yes, this is good, this is bad, don't try it, or you have to try it. I think every shoe requires you to try it on, because whatever I say, and I may love a particular shoe, doesn't mean that you're going to have the same experience. You have to put the shoe on your feet, put it in this, you know, in a store where you can try that particular model against other models to make that comparison for yourself, because you are the one that is going to be the best reviewer for yourself. And that's what I typically tend to do, and that's what I do for myself. And what I try to share is a little bit of some insights to maybe help guide you into some things to look out for, things that you may want to consider. And I think that's where reviewers should be doing, because everyone's foot shape is different. And I can't tell you that because it worked on the shape of my foot, that it's going to work on the shape of your foot, that it's not going to cause you any issues. I also like a particular way a shoe feels on my foot, and you may like something completely different. So I think we need to watch out and be very careful as to how much value we put into some reviewers and what they're saying. Some of them are good, and they're able to provide very technical details as far as stack height, weight. I've even seen some that go into detail as far as the durometer. And for the most part, most of us don't even know what that means or what a durometer number it actually means, because we have no way of comparison that, because we're not all completely like shoe geeks. We want to know, how does it feel? Does it feel comfortable? Am I going to enjoy my runs outside? Because ideally, the best shoe for you is going to be the one that feels the most comfortable on your feet. As far as your initial first impression, if you try 4 different pairs of shoes, the one that feels that is almost like you're not even wearing a shoe, chances are that's the best shoe for you. If you notice that shoe on your feet, then chances are, you're going to notice it on your run, and it may take a while. You may not know that instinctively, when you try it in the store. It may take a couple, runs before you start feeling it and it feels more comfortable, and it just sort of kind of clicks. And that's why shopping local and shopping at a running store that has a very good return policy is going to be better for you, because you can try a shoe. If it doesn't work out, bring it back and they'll exchange it. They'll get some feedback as to what worked, what didn't work, and steer you in a direction that, into a shoe that potentially will alleviate some of the issues you had with that first one. Because like I said, that shoe you try in the store, it, as you kind of walked, or ran in the store or on the sidewalk or on a treadmill, for those few seconds and you ran in it, it may have felt great, but you may not really know until you put 2, 3, 5, 10 miles in that shoe, and then you realize, oh, something doesn't feel quite right. So be careful about what you're watching out there. Don't put a lot of value into what reviewers are doing, including my own, when I do those reviews. But I will try to be more conscious of those things and my perception, and very clearly state that this is my own perception, my own experience, and how that may translate to you, but doesn't mean it actually will. So hope that helps, and it makes you a little bit more informed as to how to evaluate shoes for yourself. Evaluate these reviews, do your research, do your homework, but by all means, come into your local running store and try the shoes for yourself, because you are your best shoe reviewer. So hope that helps. Hope that gives you a little bit of information and insight into shoes and what you should be looking for and how to pick out the best shoe. So until then, have a great run and see you out on the road.